I'm Chad Grevalese with Aerolite TV and your host of the show, Connect Up. If you're looking to gain traction in your career or business, you're at the right place because here we talk about connection. You need to know how to connect with the right people in the right way so you can build valuable relationships that lead you to career success. We have conversations about how to find your voice in your career. I interview communication experts, time and focus masters, and everyday people who have stories to tell of challenges overcome, goals achieved, and how their inner and outer communication and ultimately their relationships accelerated their progress and elevated their journey. Success in life is just a collection of the right conversations with yourself and others. Connect up to a better version of yourself. Connect up to your goals and a brighter future. Disconnect from the things that are holding you back and connect your way to where you want to be. Today I have the privilege and the honor of interviewing Ricky Bennet. He's an expert at connecting people and an expert at bringing people from all walks of life together to under a common vision to then create something amazing that can lift this world to the next level. And so in today's episode, we're going to learn a lot about how to connect better with people, how to form beneficial relationships. He's going to share some secrets on how to have consistency when working towards longer term goals. And also we're going to discuss the importance of self-talk and how the dialogue in our head is affecting our relationships and ultimately our success in our career. And so Ricky Bennet, he's an All-American college basketball player who went on to a professional basketball career, but it was cut short due to an injury. And right around the same time was the 2008 market crash. And so he was set back financially, set back physically, he was set back in a lot of ways, but he talked himself out of that challenge and into entrepreneurship. And he found a lot of success building up several multi-million-dollar businesses. And now he has his new venture called The Rich Way. And I'm excited to learn from him on what he has to share with us on how to talk ourselves into the success that we want and how to connect our way to the goals that we have. So welcome to the show, Ricky Bennet.
I'm definitely glad to be here, Chad.
I'm glad to have you. Yeah, Ricky Bennet, he's accomplished a lot of different things in his life because of his ability to connect with people and pull people together. And so I'm excited to learn today about what he has to share with us about how to create strong connections. And first I want to ask you, how has your relationships influenced your ability to achieve your goals? And what do you do to connect your way to the goals that you have?
Well, first of all, I think that the greatest success is based on your connection with people. I don't think there's very few things you can do to have success without having either people in the process of helping you get it done or being a customer or whatever it is that you have. So you really need people to be successful. So I'm really big on building relationships. I've been that way my whole entire life. I think it started off through athletics, being a leader, being a point guard, on a basketball team at such a young age. And my responsibility was to take the information from the coach and be able to get a group of people, young men, to come together and be on one accord. So I think my people skills started very early through athletics.
Gotcha, very cool. So tell us a little bit about your story and why you are doing what you're doing today, and kind of a little bit about your journey thus far.
I would say that my whole entire life, starting off, my early part of my life was really built around athletics. That was pretty much what I've done. I was able to go to college on a basketball scholarship. I was an All-American in college, played professional basketball. But the turning point in my life came in when I was 27 years old. I received a phone call that I was going to be getting invited to NBA camp, and at that particular time, I was very confident in my abilities and what I can do. So it's safe to say that I was going to be signing my first NBA contract. I never really played for a team in the NBA at that time. And so 2 weeks before it was time for me to report to camp, I'm training, I'm getting in great shape. I get an injury, and it was career-ending injury. I was a person who had 2 different ankle surgeries. So, my plan A was sports. My plan B was education. So having 6 years of higher education, my assumption was that if it didn't work out, I'll be able to get a good job, support my family, and go from there. That actually didn't work out for me based on timing. It was 2007. The economy was really bad at that particular time, and in my field, it was extremely hard. Most companies were closing down and downsizing during that time. So I went through a process of about 18 months without income. I had to work, support my family. So this was the first time. So this was tough for me, and it just went to the point where I kept fighting it. I kept on saying no. I got to find a job. Even though I fought to get that employment, and I ended up losing my home, losing my car, losing everything. I was pretty much homeless, no money, and it was like, what do I do? I have no other options, and that's when I met a mentor who sort of shared with me entrepreneurship, the industry he was involved in, and then from there I went all in. I didn't have a lot of options, and I went out and within 18 months I was retired from corporate America at 29. And in my early 30s, I made my first $1 million as an entrepreneur, and from there, things just evolved.
That's amazing. It sounds like you faced a lot of challenges in your life and with the economy, and you got out of it. How did you talk yourself out of those challenges? Because obviously sometimes we get hit with these unfortunate circumstances that sometimes are out of our control. And we can really let it beat down on us, and we can look at it and be like, wow, how am I ever going to get out of this? And then we just keep almost talking ourselves further and further into the problem. How did you convince yourself that you could, leave corporate America and create your own path in the way that you did?
It was two things. Number one, I didn't really have options. Like I say, there's a story in Think and Grow Rich, and it talks about burning the ships, and how these group of men, I think they were outnumbered, and that leader, told them to look back, and they had just crossed over, and he looked back, and the ships were burning, and he said, "Hey, listen, we're either going to win or we're going to die." And a lot of times in life, we just have too many options. That's just the bottom line. I had no option. This was it. This was my only way that I had to be self-efficient. And to me, that was number one. The second thing is that I made up my mind I was going to win. I knew that I was put on this earth to do something special. And that's one of the things that and you said something key, Chad, is that you're talking to yourself. When you close your mouth, you can still speak to yourself. You can still hear yourself. That's who you really are. And that's the greatness inside of you. And so you don't ever want to let that work against you, because there's so much power in that person, that inner being. There's so much power in it. It's so important to say the right thing. So I think that I've always been very confident I was going to be successful at all times. That's why I fought so hard in corporate America. I'm not giving up. I'll go on interviews. I'll do resumes all day long. I go from store to store, from business to business, nonstop, from sun up to sundown. That was my mentality. And so I think those two, not having any other options and knowing deep down inside that I was put on this earth to do something special, those two were probably the reasons why I was able to make that step and create success for myself.
A couple of things you said that I really resonated with and loved is that sometimes we have too many options, and especially in our hyper-connected world where we have our phones and our computers and the internet, and we're getting so much input, and we have all these options and all this noise that sometimes interferes with our ability to make confident decisions. And what you did was you figured out how to narrow it down. You're like, okay, I have two options, either win or die. and you're like, this is what I have to do. And you figured out how to narrow down your options, so it made it very simple. And sometimes we overcomplicate our problems because we allow ourselves to have too many options. But it's up to us to limit those options and simplify so that we can make a confident decision and move forward. I love as well how you said that how we talk to ourselves on the inside, that's who we really are. And it's true, because people can't see the way we're talking to ourselves, at least the details of it. They can see it coming out in our body language. They can hear it in our voice when we're trying to relate to them. But who we really are is what's happening inside of here, and those conversations dictate our whole reality. Those conversations taking place inside dictate our communication, it dictates our reality, and it sounds like you've been able to get a grip from an early age on that inner communication, on that self-talk, and because of it, you've been able to talk yourself out of problems, talk yourself into new opportunities, talk yourself into better relationships. How else has your self-talk affected your communication and your ability to create good relationships?
Man, it's everything. In fact, it affects everyone. It's actually a power that we have, and you don't want it to work against. You don't want it to work against you, and that's why positive affirmation is very important. I was the only child. In fact, I was the only grandchild on both sides of the family for 12 years. So I spent a lot of time by myself, and I realized that, but I wasn't speaking. I think I understood that inner voice, and I understood how important that was. So I would always talk to myself. I think 7 or 8 years old, I was talking to myself and tell myself certain things, and it would happen, and we all do it. The question is, what are we telling ourselves? And that's the biggest key.
All growing up and into my early 20s, I had a lot of inner dialogue going on, and sometimes it would come out and I'd be like mumbling to myself or whatever, just kind of trying to process something. But a lot of it was negative, and a lot of it was me talking myself out of achieving my goals, and almost convincing myself that I wasn't worth it. But it was very subtly negative. It wasn't even like I was obviously beating up myself. A lot of it was just it was weird. It's like in a very kind of subtle, deceitful way, I kept talking myself out of things without being obviously mean to myself. And it wasn't until I fixed my internal dialogue and I started changing the way I was talking to myself that I finally started to gain traction in my career. And I realized just how big it was, how much it was really affecting my relationships too, because I was always somebody who would avoid connecting. I hoped that I could get career success without having to connect with people. I was always more shy, and I hoped that I could just kind of quietly find my way. And it didn't work out very well trying to quietly find my way, because achieving anything is never a solo journey, where everything is co-created. We're all working with each other to create something. And once I finally accepted and wanted and said, you know what, I'm going to start telling myself that I love connecting with people, even though I didn't. And over time, as I kept telling myself that I loved connecting with people, I actually started to love connecting with people. And I started to love developing new relationships, and I became a lot more interested in people. And it made my communication so much easier, because for a while, I had a hard time talking because I was constantly thinking about what to say next. And that actually made it harder for me to talk, but I wasn't really listening. When I just started listening and getting really interested in people, I just knew what to say next. I didn't have to overthink it, and so it really made a big impact.
Yeah, you said something key. Interested into people is important instead of being interesting, and a lot of times you have one level where, like you said, someone may be shy or whatever, but once they figure it out, they're trying to be interesting. They're trying to, hey, it's me, it's what I do. They're trying, but really it's the exact opposite is what you said, is being interested in people. And that's the really key to connection. So yeah, you touched it right in there. Get it right in there.
Definitely. Why is our connection with people so important? What are some other reasons why it's so important in our life?
I mean, think about it. There's nothing that's happening without people. Period. There's nothing. This is it's really right there in front of us. Everything that's going on, everything we're looking to accomplish, we need people to do something. Lead people, connect with people, learn from people. These are all very important. That's why my life goal now is about connecting the world together. And I think that in life, we do need people, but we also need to make sure that we understand our surroundings has to change for us to change. Some people want to earn a lot of income. And I tell people all the time, you take the 5 people you're around the most, you add up their income, divided times 5 is usually yours. So there's a process of growth of people getting limited access, and also being open to accept and meet new people. And so that's so important to evolve, because you're going to be a product of your environment a lot. We talk about the inner being, but what you do have, you're in a shell, which is your body, which is this eyesight. So now you're seeing things that are all your limitations. You're hearing things that's your limitation. You're saying things that's your limitation. So, your inner being speaks and things happen, and so that's the biggest key.
Wow, yeah, I love when you said kind of, when our inner being speaks, then, it happens. Like when we say something on the inside and we declare, this is what I want, sooner than later, it becomes a reality. And as you connect with people and as you start making that a possibility, it's from those connections that you together create that thing into a reality. What are some other key tips that you have for how to gain rapport with people, how to build trust with new relationships, and how to really create a mutually beneficial, strong relationships? What are some things that you do that really make a difference in that?
Common ground, finding a common ground is key. And again, it goes back to what you said about being interested. You have to be open to listening so you can find a common ground. I do an exercise at one of our seminars where what I sort of explain, we're all connected. So you can basically, say something about yourself and someone can say the exact same thing, whether they were born in a certain state, they have a certain amount of children, they're a certain height, they went to a certain college, or whatever it is. They like a certain sport. They like a certain food. Whatever it is. So the first thing you want to do is find common ground. The moment you find common ground, it's almost like joining a network of people. You're now looking to see, well, what do you do? Now you're looking to connect with them in other things as well. So the biggest key to connecting is finding common ground. That's the first key.
Gotcha. And what's something that you do to kind of establish that common ground? If maybe you and the other person have slightly different goals, how do you end up almost combining into one vision? How are you able to bring two people that have very different experiences and bring them together under a common goal if maybe, they do have other things they're trying to do as well?
Yeah, in most cases, there's always something that two people both want to do. We used to use a connection process called form. You know what I mean? Where you talk about family, occupation, recreation, and then there's a message behind, what you would like to collaborate and do. You ask questions about a person's occupation and what they do, and you ask questions about a person's recreation, the things they love to do when they're not working or not with family. And typically, that's where you sort of find common ground.
That's really helpful. Yeah, I've had some experiences where, I would, do various kind of, small talk questions, but it seems like what you're saying is that you have these questions that help to start things like, hey, tell me about your family, about your job, but you're not seeing that as the end goal. You're not just going to end there talking about your job or talking about your family and then it stops. It's like it seems like you're constantly looking for what's that next level and how can we keep this conversation leading towards eventually this place where all of a sudden there's this connection and bam, now we see something similarly and now we have this shared goal, we have this shared vision, but it kind of takes a couple of questions out front to kind of get things going and going from there. What are some keys to building trust, or what are some keys to holding trust in a relationship? What causes us to trust somebody?
You have the message, okay? And the message is if you have something to share with someone, you may say, hey, you know what? I think that you and I need to connect. What you have going on and what I have going on, I think will be a great connection. How about we connect sometime and really talk about how we can collaborate and moving forward. So, that's the form technique. But like you said, the message.
What you just said about, okay, let's connect at this future date so that we can see, where we're at and what we have going. That's really key because I think sometimes we have a conversation, we end it, but we don't set up another conversation. We don't set up an opportunity to have a follow-up conversation, and then sometimes that relationship just ends. And so that's really helpful to me because I've had times where I've had conversations and then it just kind of ended, but I didn't say, hey, when can we talk again about this, or when can we talk more about this? Because then that keeps the relationship going, because a relationship is simply just, if you're having continuous conversations with somebody, the relationship is active. Once you stop talking with somebody, that relationship is basically now on hold and it's no longer active, but as conversations continue, the relationship continues. And so that's really helpful advice that we always need to be, that as we end a conversation, that we need to set up an opportunity for a future conversation, and then we need to keep doing that so that the other person is looking forward to it, so that they're expecting that this relationship is going to continue. One thing I wanted to ask you about is how do you, because something that a lot of people struggle with is creating consistency, especially when we're doing small things every day that will add up to dramatic results over time. Sometimes it's hard to remain consistent when we don't get immediate results. And so I'm curious to know if you've ever had any experiences or if you have any advice on how to be consistent and persistent with something that may not be bringing immediate results, but if you just stick with it, eventually the fruits will come.
There's a couple things that's important here. Number one, you have to be able to set a long-term goal of what you want to accomplish. The reason why is because it's your vision, and without vision, you sort of perish from the process. So without that long-term vision, the best example of if you don't have a long-term goal is it would be driving down the highway and you're driving for a long time and you realize, wait a minute, I don't know where I'm going. At that particular point, you don't have the will to keep going. You just don't. You're trying to find a safe spot to stop or turn around because you just lost track of exactly where you were going. So number one is setting the big vision. Well, you have some times people set the big vision, but they never really get there. Well, why is that? They don't have what you call a short-term goal. And short-term goals, there's levels to it, but the number one short-term goal to ever have is a day goal, because the key now is winning the day. So once you have figured out, okay, I have to go 100 miles, then you now know that, hey, if I do 1 mile a day, it's going to take me 100 days. If I do 2 miles a day, it's going to take me 50 days. If I do 4 miles a day, it's going to take me 20 days. If I do 10 miles a day, it's going to take me 10 days. That is the key to success. Most people just don't understand how to put those things together, because once you do it, maybe it may take a little longer to have your goal. Maybe it may take a little longer, but progression is the key. And as long as you're getting closer and closer to your goal, the will is there, the excitement is there. When you add the vision, then you have no choice but to be successful, because now your inner being is thinking about that task and you always become what you think about. What most people do is, because they don't have those little things in place, they're going to allow doubt to creep in. Now you have to become what you think about. You are a doubter. You are a non-believer. You are a person who are emotional over things that are not good instead of things that are good. And the key to success is your emotions. When you made it in life when you cry over your future success more than you cry over your past failures. So if you're crying over your future success, that means emotionally you're so locked in. Visually, you have no choice but to have it. But most people do the exact opposite.
That's perfect. That's spot on. I never made that link before between making these smaller goals. I always knew it was good to make smaller goals along the way because it helps you get momentum, but I never really made that strong link between that and consistency. But that really is key, that what you're saying, how we need to have these bigger vision goals that we might accomplish in a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. But then we need these smaller goals that are kind of related to and a part of leading us to that bigger goal, but that by having those smaller goals, you're going to be accomplishing things along the way. Because I've experienced this where I have a bigger goal that I want to happen as soon as possible, but it might be a couple of years. And I only see that goal as the only success. So when month after month goes by and I haven't accomplished the bigger goal yet, then I feel like a failure. And I feel like I haven't made any progress. But if I just create smaller goals that are almost milestones and checkpoints along the way, then I can continue to feel successful throughout the whole journey towards that bigger goal, rather than just seeing the bigger goal as the only success. And that helps us to remain consistent, because every time we get to claim that smaller success, it helps to boost our energy, it helps to boost our confidence, and it helps us to feel that we are being successful, that we are accomplishing goals. That if we skip that process of creating smaller goals, that to accomplish along the way, then we burn out, and we do have a hard time being consistent because we're not claiming small successes along the way. So that's really important. Thanks for sharing that. That's absolutely key in being able to feel that we're progressing.
Our highway systems, they understand that. Our highway systems, that sign that you're X amount of miles from your destination is not directions. It's to keep you going. Because if you don't see you're getting closer, you're going to get confused. You're going to stop. You're not going to continue to roll. You're not going to be confident. You're not going to continue to move forward in the level you're moving forward because you're looking for a sign. You know, if a sign says, you know, there's 100 miles to New York. If you drive for 30 minutes, you're looking for that sign to say something about, you know, something like, shorter, and you're looking for that sign that I'm getting closer and closer and closer. So your goals have to be the same way. You cannot be a situation where you're driving down a road, you're driving down a highway, and you're driving for hours and hours and hours and hours to a destination, and you have no idea if you're getting closer or not to it. You're not going to continue to drive. You're going to find a way to get off the highway because it's uncomfortable.
That is a fantastic analogy. Wow, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like I never even thought about that before. That's why we have these signs, because they know that if we don't have these signs, hey, you're 100 miles away, now you're 50 miles, now you're 20 miles. It does. When I think about it, when I'm making a longer trip, it does. It almost resets my energy whenever I cross that checkpoint where it says, hey, you've made it. You're at 30 miles away now. So that's really cool that we can see these smaller goals along the way as almost signs on our own highway as we're progressing towards the success that we want in our life. That as we're progressing towards these different destinations, because at the end of the day, we're never going to hit a destination and then just stop there. We're constantly we achieve one goal and then we set another. And we're constantly on this highway throughout our whole life, going to new and greater destinations. But without those signs, without those checkpoints along the way, we burn out, we give up, we take the exit, we exit out, we check out. We check out of trying to accomplish goals. We check out of trying to make our life better. As we're progressing towards a bigger goal, accountability is also key in creating consistency. What do you have to say about that? How does accountability, which also brings back the whole importance of having different relationships, how does that accountability help us remain consistent?
That's everything. It goes back to the environment. You know, that's very, very important. And that's one of the things that I realize is that a lot of people think it's sort of the how-tos or even the information I'm giving you right now. It's not easy to do it in an environment that you don't have other people who are thinking the exact same way. Also, certain individuals can help you because they've done it before. You know, a certain experience you have, Chad, that there's people who want to, even though you have goals, you have things you want to accomplish. There's so many people who want to get to where you are right now. And the process of you helping them get to where you are, it's amazing how it works. It helps you get closer to where you're going. You know, so yeah, we need each other for accountability. We need each other for knowledge. We need each other for wisdom. I really think that if you take enough people and put them together, it creates a perfect person. I really believe that. I really believe it creates a perfect person. If you have enough people together with enough different skill sets, you basically have a perfect person. And I think what Napoleon Hill calls it is mastermind. That's what it is. It's a mastermind. It's a mind that can never be created with one person, but it can be created with a collective group of individuals with certain type of skill sets coming together to create a mastermind. And with that mastermind, you can accomplish things you could have never accomplished by yourself.
That's powerful. Yeah, that mastermind is what we're trying to create here. Our own brain is built up of a network of neural pathways. And we have to see that as, so outside of our brain in our real life, we need to build a network of people to create this brain of skill sets that allow us to then create bigger and bigger things. So I think a lot of times this inner network that we have, it also reflects our outer network. And if we get a grip on our inner network by how we talk to ourselves, and we change the way we talk to ourselves, and we change the network in our brain. It's going to help us to create bigger and stronger networks on the outside of our brain with people, so we can create that mastermind, that master brain that then can accomplish such greater things. Just like you said, that there's so much more that can be accomplished when we're unified in that way. I wanted to just kind of close up by asking you, how have you found your voice in your career, and what does that really mean to you? Kind of how have you found your purpose with your career, your mission? I like to kind of talk about finding your voice as basically finding your place, finding like, this is where I belong in this world. This is what I need to do in my career. How did you find your way to that?
When it comes to your purpose or finding, your voice, it's really right there in front of you. It's right there in front of you. You know what I mean? The obstacles are right there in front of you. Some of the obstacles you have right now in front of you, it's about overcoming those obstacles. And by overcoming those obstacles, you have to grow. I'll give you a great example. I actually was in a situation, going back to my story, where I really needed to earn a certain amount of income. I really had to. But because the industry I was involved in was so based on personal growth, I actually started to get into personal growth, not because I wanted personal growth, not because I wanted to be able to say, hey, I got personal growth. No. I got into personal growth so I can have the ability to impact and lead people. And by me being able to lead people, I was able to build something very massive, build businesses, build companies, because I had that ability to lead people because of my personal growth. So that forced me into my purpose, or gave me my voice, so to speak, because I just tackled the task in front of me. What it really was is being able to make enough income self-sufficient myself to be able to take care of my family and myself. And by doing that, that's how I found that voice. I said, hey, what's in front of me? I'm going to get it done. What options do I have? Here's my options. Here's what I'm going to get done. So a lot of that is just really paying attention to your surroundings and paying attention to what you're really good at and paying attention to what your challenges are. And those are the ways we really find that purpose of that voice.
That's really great. Thank you so much. That I want to kind of conclude this episode by you just discussing with us what is the importance of having a coach. You have a sports background, so I'm curious to know what the importance is in having a coach and what that has to do with kind of your current ventures.
Yeah, it's amazing how my life evolved. Being coached my whole life. I'm around athletes, great athletes, some of the best in the world, and we all have coaches. We all get taught by our coach. We all go practice. We have sessions before the game. But when the game starts, we bring our coach with us. And the average person in life, when the game starts, they don't bring a coach with them. They just sort of, get taught by someone, and they try to go out and do it. And they say things like, "Oh, I failed," or it's tough, or it's hard. I'm gonna try something different. And it never dawns on them that, wait a minute, how about I find someone who's done what I'm trying to do and allow them to coach me? It's worth it, And that's what I did in my life when I got into the real world and entrepreneurship as well. I said, wait a minute, I'm not doing this by myself. I'm gonna find someone who has the things that I want, have the success that I want in the industry that I'm currently in, and I'm going to go to them and say, listen, you give me the game plan. That was it. I don't have, because I want you to remember something, ladies and gentlemen. Your current thinking has you in a situation that your current thinking can't get you out of. If I'm going to get over here or up here, my way of thinking has to change. My current thinking can never get me there. So I'll have to adopt some type of way to get some type of coaching and learning from someone else to learn something new, so that my mindset changes, because my mindset has to change to get different results. And I just really thought about, man, I really wanted to be in a position where I can help two very important people. Number one, a person who really needs life coaching, but is very affordable. So if we keep the affordability so low, once people stick their foot in and give it a try, they understand, wait a minute, getting coached through something allows me to accomplish my goals so much faster. And a lot of people will go their whole entire life and never put 10,000 hours into their passion because they don't have time, they don't have the money. And so the Rich Way program is designed to create that, and for people to be able to do that as well. So not only 1 million people's lives being changed, but 1,000 people across the world that's going to be able to travel, teach, facilitate, train, do what they love to do. And that's my mission in life.
That's wonderful. Where can people find out more about The Rich Way?
But we have a website, www.therichway.life, and we connect you to one of our facilitators. Any individual who's looked to join our program are connected to one of our facilitators. And we have a long ways to go, but we will accomplish our goals thanks to a lot of great people like yourself and many others across the world.
Well, Ricky, you are an expert at connecting people. You're proving it every day in what you're building now with your new program, The Rich Way. And I just wanted to kind of close this episode by restating something he said that was a huge golden nugget for today, which is our current thinking cannot get us somewhere new. We have to upgrade because our current thinking is only creating our current reality. So we have to upgrade our thinking. And I want to add to that a part of that is upgrading the inner communication that goes on, because that is our thinking. The way that we talk to ourselves, we have to upgrade that inner communication. We have to upgrade our outer communication so we can upgrade our relationships, so we can upgrade our reality. Thank you so much, Ricky Bennet, for sharing all these wonderful things with us today about how to connect our way to our goals. And I thank you for being on our show.
And it was my pleasure, Chad. Thanks a lot for having me. And I just look forward to seeing all the success that you're having and just putting yourself in a position to make life easier for a lot of people. And I just think that being able to have success is one thing, but to connect with someone like you, where you can put that success into the masses, and visually all over the world, millions of people's lives can be impacted because of the ability to connect with you and what you do in your skill set. So I want to thank you for what you're doing. It's my pleasure, and I look forward to doing it again one day with you.
Do you feel like your career or business is taking longer than you thought to take off, or your goals keep getting delayed, or time keeps getting away from you? Maybe you don't know what you want and are struggling to make decisions because of all the noise. I'm Chad Gravelese, and I've experienced all of that. But I found solutions to these problems, which are discussed in my live online workshops, where you will find direct paths to where you want to be in your career and learn how to connect your way to your goals. Our modern world is more connected than ever before through remote communication technology. This can either cause distraction or help you gain traction. Your devices are now an extension of your voice. How can this work for you? Through your device, you join my workshops, and your device will help you apply what you learned. Achieving anything is never a solo journey. Come discover how to connect with people in the right way at the right time so you can develop relationships that are mutually beneficial and built on trust. The noise is increasing in this hyper-connected world, and at my classes, you'll learn how to find clarity so you can make confident decisions that will move you forward so you can create and contribute. What makes Airlight Workshops unique? You get the value from an in-person training from the convenience of your own home, through your computer or phone. In the virtual classrooms I've set up, you will develop real skills that will enhance your personal and professional life. And I make sure that you start applying what you're learning right there in the class. And I give you actionable steps to do at home after the class. This is not some boring webinar presentation where I bombard you with information or I spend an hour pitching you on some high-end product that I'm selling. It's a workshop. I train you, and we interact. We have a conversation with each other. We have the advantage of bringing together unique perspectives from all over the world to add to the collective learning experience. So, what topics do I train you on? All of my workshops are strung together by the theme of connection. You'll learn to disconnect from things that are holding you back and connect to things that will move you forward towards your goals. To achieve strong connections that lead you to your goals, you must develop time management skills and communication skills. Those are the top two qualities that convince people to trust you. And the root of both of those skills is focus. Ultimately, your focus skills affect how you use your time and how you communicate with people. When you master your ability to control your focus, You become more productive and an expert at prioritizing. It will elevate your listening abilities, which means you'll develop higher quality relationships, and those relationships will lead you to better results. You also keep your commitments, which is the foundation for building trust. That trust then feeds higher quality relationships that lead you to career success. All of my workshops will train your focus so you can communicate better and master your time. Likewise, as you learn specific communication skills here, you'll naturally get better with your time. And as you learn various time management skills, you'll naturally become a better communicator, and they continually reinforce each other, with focus being the fuel that keeps that cycle moving. The stories we tell ourselves every day determine our reality. You can create more certainty and security in your future by telling the right stories. Join us so you can improve your communication skills, relationships, and results from the inside out, relevant to our remotely connected world, and grow as a leader. Expand and strengthen your network in a way that aligns you with your goals. Find your voice in your career. I invite you to my live online workshops so you can connect your way to where you want to be.